Welcome to Driving Development with your host, Leslie Bishop. This is a conversational podcast to help you redefine your windshield time. Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 100 of Driving Development. And as you can see, this episode is a little bit different because it's the first video podcast that I have done. And before I introduce this podcast, I just want to say a few things because I cannot believe I have now gotten to 100 episodes. Thinking about having been a TM for 13 years and actually trying to put in my resignation and to go be with my little babies, and Mike Jones and Tom Armstrong green lighting a special project for me to be able to work part-time from home, and through the brainstorming of many people coming up with this idea to do a development podcast, I would have never, ever dreamed something like this would be possible at Boston Scientific. And I have to say, it is amazing to do work that feels meaningful and feels appreciated, which really parlays into the introduction for this particular podcast. So I had been planning with Sarah Cruz and also a little bit with Mike Freno about this particular episode. I was going to be interviewing Mike Jones, Adam Smith, and Brian St. Martin about personal development stuff. And I had spent, an hour or two prepping along with Sarah and thinking about the questions and planning on this. And it was odd that they wanted to schedule this on a Friday late. And Freno had been like kind of all over me a lot more than usual about this upcoming 100th episode. And I really didn't have anything planned special. I really wasn't thinking anything about it. And so we start this podcast. Well, apparently the podcast we had recorded was not the intention of Jones, Adam, Brian, or Dave Pierce. And so what you're going to see is the middle of the podcast, because I'm doing a regular podcast, doing the questions that we had talked about and all the stuff we were going to talk about. And then boom, you'll see what happens. But before I switch over to the content, I just want to say a couple things and a few thank yous. So when this started, of course, I mentioned that Mike and Tom are the ones that greenlighted it, but there was a team of people that came alongside me that had nothing to do with me in terms of they weren't my managers and they weren't working for me. They were just friends and people I had worked with over the years who really helped me. So Mike Freno, who now is my boss, but at the time was just somebody I had been a TM with, and Jonathan Hogan and Mike Morris all flew up to Boston during my very first podcasts and held my hand and encouraged me. They helped me when we brainstormed the name of Driving Development. And they were extremely helpful with giving feedback, really important, critical feedback on those first 10, 20 episodes to make Driving Development the best it could be. The other person who started really helping me and put a lot into this podcast was my former boss, Carrie Loban, who gave me probably the most strategic piece of advice any other person gave me. And that was to start interviewing the spouse or the friend or the coworker or the boss of the person I was going to interview ahead of time in order to have more information and to have a really good sense of what direction I wanted that conversation to go. That one piece of advice from Carrie transformed what I was doing with Driving Development. So welcome to episode 100. This is a really fun episode for me to show to you guys because I did not know what was going to happen. I really appreciate all of you guys coming on, and thank you to Boston Scientific for allowing me to have a job that I love that is so awesome. All right, Brian, Adam, Mike, welcome back to Driving Development. I'm super happy to have you guys on. I think it's been maybe since the pandemic started that any of you have been a guest. So I'm super happy to have you guys here with us again.
Happy to be here, Leslie.
Thanks for having us.
So you can see from that, everything started normally. We were having a chat about things that happened during quarantine, gardening, a tractor with Brian St. Martin. And then I kicked the question over to Adam, and here's what happened. Keep in mind, I was only doing this podcast with Brian, Adam, and Jones to start.
Looks like we might have a couple extra guests here. I'm not sure my tip's really that important anymore.
Hey, Leslie.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, Leslie.
What's going on?
How you doing?
I don't even know what's happening right now.
I didn't mean to crash your
Bear with us.
That's great. That's
Stick
great.
with
So,
us, Leslie.
So Leslie, as you know, approaching your 100th Driving Development podcast. And we wanted to bring the leadership team together to celebrate you today. And I know everyone on this call will agree that driving development has been organizational shaping for many reasons. And we all wanted to personally congratulate you and thank you for your contributions to not only endoscopy, but the broader BSC organization.
Surprise!
Oh my gosh, I am
Right,
truly
Leslie.
like, I was not expecting that. Well, thank you. That's so nice. This has been so fun. And when we were offline, we were talking about how when I don't even know how many people in the organization know, but the way I even got this job was because I tried to quit working for Boston Scientific, and Mike Jones got involved and said, I think we need to create a part-time thing for Leslie, which this didn't even exist. And it was kind of a whiteboard thing. And this has been really a fun challenge. So I'm very surprised. I'm a little caught off guard, but thank you. I'm glad y'all are on. That's fun.
We're glad.
That's great. Go ahead, Dave.
No, I was going to say, we're glad we caught you off guard, and congratulations. It's been, I can't believe it's been 100, but the ones that I've listened to have been so well done. So many really solid lessons, a lot of poignant moments, a lot of laughter, and thankfully, no Mike Mahoney singing.
I tried. I mean,
I know you did.
Megan Scanlon was the only one willing.
I know, we're weak.
I think, Dave, maybe right now is a moment you could sing on my behalf. Congratulations of some sort. You're the one that brings it up.
Well, Leslie, so now it's a little different now. So, for many, many years, 100 episodes, you've been asking the questions. So now it's our turn to ask you a questions as well. So we're going to put you on the spot. If that's
Oh, gosh.
So you already sort of answered one, but I'm going to have maybe go in a different way. So as a all-star territory manager, you made the decision to change your career path and to be the world's best podcaster for the endoscopy division and Boston Scientific, by the way. So when you look at those two roles and you look at them, what was the difference in change by making the podcaster versus a TM? What do you look back at, and what do you think that brought you to be the top podcaster inside the Boston Scientific Corporation?
Well, since I was the first, it's kind of easy to that was the only one. But I think the reason that I've been successful with the podcast is, honestly, I just really like people and I'm really curious. And if you get stuck with me next to dinner, at a dinner, I might ask you 7 zillion questions and I might get you to confess something that you didn't want to confess, because I'm kind of relentless that way. So I think that curiosity has made this maybe a good fit for me that I would have never known about, because I had never done anything like this before. But I think that's maybe why this has kind of worked. So I don't know if that helped me in selling too, because I think people do like it when you are interested in them. So maybe that was a help in my selling career too. I don't know, but I do think I like learning about you guys. Like, it's really, really fun to me. And it's really fun when somebody will share something, that's really personal or emotional. That's my favorite, when somebody really will kind of like take down their guard. In fact, Mike, when I first interviewed you, I was told you would not share a lot of personal stuff. And I remember being shocked when you shared about your car accident and how you almost died in college. And I was like, I got him to share something. So that was
You bribed my wife. That's why you bribed my wife to give you little insights.
I bribed everybody's wife for insights. How do you think I get all the good stuff?
Well, Leslie, I got a question, but I would just reinforce, man, it was said already, but these podcasts have just played such a huge role. They have been transformational for us in a lot of ways. I think what you're describing there, your ability to kind of get some insights that, there aren't other platforms to do, has kind of revealed the soul of the organization, the culture of the organization. So they've been really, really helpful to I think, socializing, who we are and our values as a company. So we really are indebted to you for the work you've done. My question is a simple one. When you think back across these last 100, which one was your favorite and why? Which one stands out and why?
I do have a couple. I really do like the Art Bitcher story, because when he had his panic attack on stage, I didn't really know him at all. I had never met him before. In fact, I had hardly met him when I interviewed him that day. And I had been told by a few people that he wouldn't talk about that was something off guard that he'd never talked about before. Now, I did clear that with Liz. She did tell me he would talk about it. So I knew that he would, but when he was so open about that I mean, to me, that is like my biggest, I cannot imagine standing in front of the NSM and totally blanking and having to walk up stage in front of like 500 people. I mean, that is, and don't people say public speaking is like scarier than the death? And so for him to talk about that, I just remember feeling incredibly inspired for several days after that podcast. And then a side thing that many people didn't know that was happening is 2 days before that podcast, I woke up deaf in my left ear. I had something called sudden sensorial hearing loss, and it happens to 1 out of 100,000 people. And it's totally spontaneous. I wasn't sick. I didn't have anything happen. I don't even know if you guys know this. And I didn't find out until the following Monday because I got on an airplane. I couldn't see an ENT, but I had one ear that was functioning, but I had to do that podcast and Mike Phelan. And I think I had another, I also interviewed one of our founders with this situation. Most of my hearing has come back in that ear, thankfully, because only 30% of people have a return of hearing, 30% get partial and 30% never have any. But anyway, that kind of adds to that there was something personal going on at that moment. But that was definitely one of my favorites. I also really liked the Afflicted series. If you guys haven't heard that one, it was the 9/11, the 9/11 first responder who ended up addicted to opioids. That one was really, really awesome. But I have a lot. The founders were really amazing on personal levels, just getting to go meet them in person. That was really cool. But Arts, for whatever reason, I think stands out for his transparency, his inspiration. I really didn't know him. And then kind of what was going on behind the scenes during that podcast.
So I'll jump in, and that kind of was going down the path of the question I was going to ask you. So besides the 5 of us and 6 counting Sarah, who's your favorite from a podcast? Is there someone that, I know obviously you mentioned Art and Memorable and those things, but who's your favorite, or you can do a top 3 or top 5?
Man, I would almost have to look at the list. I mean, when Bill Curry got choked up on me, that was pretty amazing moment. That was really awesome. Richard Hendricks was one of my earliest ones. And what really strikes me about that one is none of them had been released yet. And so it was very risky for him to come on and do such a personal podcast, so vulnerable about his heart transplant. So that one I really loved. I certainly loved meeting Mike Mahoney. I mean, that was really, really cool. Dave Pierce is on here now. I loved that when he had already gone to another division. And when I asked him, he said something like, I've been waiting for you to ask me or something, which he probably didn't even mean, but it meant a lot to me. And then
I did mean it.
I did mean it. And then I've had some cool, outside ones too. I loved Carla Williams, who's the athletic director at the University of Virginia. She's amazing and historic. And she's the first Black female to be the athletic director of Power 5 school. And under her leadership, after 2 years, they have 2 national championships. And I went to UVA, and that was amazing. So that was really, really amazing. So it's kind of hard. I have a lot that really were significant to me. And and you guys are great too, y'all. And I don't say that because you're on here. It's such an honor to me that I can say, hey, do you want to come on? And you guys are eager to come on. It means a lot to me. It really validates what I do.
So Leslie, you've got 100 podcasts in the can. What are you looking forward to most for your next 100?
I don't know. I need you guys to come up with some really good people for me to interview, some next level. I would love to get more big names. I don't know. I like every single one. It's fun. You're connecting with somebody. This is fun right now. What am I most looking forward to? What's that?
You can't be speechless.
I'm not really speechless. I just don't know that I know the answer. Each one, I look forward to them on different degrees. Obviously if it's someone if it's Carla Williams, I'm just so overwhelmed with excitement, but I like them all. I mean, anytime I can bring somebody out and bring something to the organization, or I can change, I can think of some times we've done some, especially these quarterly updates when things were kind of stink, and I had to ask you guys some tough questions. And if that helps the organization be more positive or feel like things are more transparent. Like that's all really valuable to me. I don't know if I'm giving a very good answer, but it's kind of a hard question to answer.
Yeah, Leslie, I think it'd be great one time to interview your family. I think it'd be great to interview each one of your family members.
So I interview my kids every Christmas. I've been doing it for a few years for Todd. And so it's things like, what do you want to be? And all of that. I've been thinking about interviewing my parents. I definitely should do that. My parents are doing something called Storyworth, which is, you guys have never heard of it. It's really cool. It creates a book. You write the questions and they answer them. And my parents are 81, both of them.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. But I have thought, we did record my dad on video years back, but I don't know what happened to that video. So I do think it would be worth getting them on audio for sure. But my kids are funny, because you'll ask, who are you going to marry? And what do you want to be? And they say crazy things, and then now the older one's kind of giving attitude a little bit. And
well,
so
listen, we do have one more surprise for you.
Oh my gosh,
So
this is
maybe
hilarious.
Todd, if you could come on in.
Congratulations! No way! How cool is that? Oh my gosh. Do I have this cutest little boys?
Hey, Todd.
Hey, Mommy! This was happening to me.
That is awesome.
Oh my God, that is an awesome picture right there. That is a great picture.
Do I have some handsome boys or what? I mean,
Oh,
these guys are so fun.
Hey, Leslie, so on behalf of the entire leadership team, we're very happy to present you with the Driving Development 100th Podcast Award to recognize your meaningful innovation and winning spirit. Thank you for everything that you've done. It's been amazing.
Oh my gosh. You guys are so awesome. This was such a totally fun surprise.
Love you.
I love you too, babe. Thanks. Bye, guys. Thank you. You guys are really amazing. So Thanks for listening to Driving Development, a production of the Young Professionals Network. Make sure to tune in for our next episode.